February 26, 2019, 51-year-old Robert Doerr was shot to death in the driveway of his Indiana home.
The death rocked this community as he had just finished his shift serving the citizens of Evansville as a firefighter. Truly one of Evansville's bravest.
Robbie was a father and a grandfather who served for almost 30 years as a firefighter. After his death, the Evansville Fire Department dedicated a new truck in his honor.
Be the Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
Within weeks, investigators focused on two people, Robbie's wife, Elizabeth Fox-Doerr, and Larry Richmond Sr. Robbie and Elizabeth, who was also known as Becky, had been married about a year when he was killed. Investigators say Becky's sister was living with the alleged triggerman, Larry Richmond. Richmond was also alleged to be having an affair with Becky. According to court documents, police found a letter Robbie wrote to his wife accusing her of infidelity. In March of 2019, authorities accused Becky of obstructing justice, while Larry Richmond was arrested on gun charges. But neither was booked for Robbie Doerr's death until August of 2022.
A short while ago, Larry Richmond Sr. and Elizabeth Fox-Doerr were charged with the murder of Robbie.
Elizabeth Fox-Doerr is charged with murder and conspiring with Larry Richmond to commit that murder. Her trial is scheduled to be heard first. She's pleaded not guilty. If she's convicted, she could face up to life in prison.
All right, we want to turn now to Court TV's newest case. A good one, folks. The firefighter wife murder trial in Indiana. Elizabeth Fox-Doerr is accused of murder and conspiracy to commit murder in the death of her firefighter husband, 51-year-old Robert Doerr, in 2019. Now, prosecutors claim that she was having an affair with co-defendant Larry Richmond Sr. But the defense says there's no evidence suggesting their client planned the killing. And today they tried to hammer that point home by grilling the original detective in the case during cross-examination.
So when you said it was a strong case a moment ago, in September of 23, you indicated you had reasonable doubts about this case, correct?
Yes.
Why?
I mean, yes, I feel strong about the case, but I have doubts. I mean, well, no, I can't be on the phone conversation with him that night. The deleted phone.
You have. Let's sort of get this out in the open.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was a phone conversation that you asked Becky about at some point, correct?
Correct.
And you allege it's with Larry Richmond Sr., right?
It is. Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You have no idea what they talked about, do you?
No.
And you know who initiated that call, don't you?
He did.
Who?
Larry Richmond Sr.
He did. In fact, in your investigation, you don't have any evidence that Becky Doerr ever initiated a phone conversation of any kind with Larry Richmond Sr., correct?
Correct.
You don't have any text messages.
No.
Between, well, let me get it out before you say no. You don't have any text messages between Larry Richmond Sr. and Becky Doerr regarding any subject matter, correct?
Correct.
You don't have email communications between Elizabeth Doerr and Larry Richmond Sr. regarding any subject matter, do you?
Correct.
In fact, this idea that is floated that these two were lovers, you don't have any communication between the two of them that would suggest that, do you?
Correct.
So if there's been a representation that there's going to be proof beyond a reasonable doubt that Becky Doerr and Larry Richmond Sr. were lovers, that evidence doesn't exist, does it?
Correct. But that's where, may I speak?
Yes,
may I speak, sir? Okay, thank you. When we talked about doubt, that's what, because we can't get content from a phone conversation. Right. So I have to take her. Now, looking at everything that has come in, I don't believe her answer. That's where I feel strong about the case, but my doubt is I can't listen to the phone conversation. People can delete text messages between the two.
Right.
And we can't prove but they can discard them before we collect the phone. That happens all the time.
Based on the totality of the circumstances in your investigation, do you believe beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is guilty of conspiring to commit murder,
Object to
helping to commit murder?
Object to the form of the question. That calls for a legal conclusion.
Well, it may be heard.
Let him finish.
And invades the province of the jury. My questions were based on statements he made in a deposition interview.
You asked the question, he's going to get to answer his question. Go ahead.
May I ask it again?
Yep.
Officer Keene, based upon the totality of the circumstances and based upon your investigation, do you believe beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is guilty of conspiring to commit murder and agreeing to commit murder?
Absolutely, yes.
All right, the defense actually opened the door to that question, which normally wouldn't have been allowed in court. You heard the judge there. Now, there was a dramatic moment at the end of the day today. The son of co-defendant Larry Richmond Sr., he took the stand. He testified that he stole the alleged murder weapon from the pawn shop that he was working at the request of his father. The defense says Larry Richmond Jr. may have perjured himself while testifying today, and they want him admonished.
Typically don't do that in front of a jury. Well, one, because I just don't. But he testified to things on direct. He admitted that he's lied on cross. There are some other things that I intend to get into. And just quite frankly, I think it's important for someone to know when they're walking down a pathway of untruth and saying things that are admitting that they're lying. I think that they have a right to know that, and I think it's important for the jury, if the court feels the same, to have that admonishment before there are any further questions. I don't represent Mr. Richmond, and neither does the state of Indiana.
State, do you want to be heard on that?
Yeah, I don't think it's appropriate. I do think he said a lot of things under oath here that are untrue, but I don't think they amount to perjury or anything that any reasonable prosecutor would want to prosecute for perjury.
So,
and plus, I just don't think it's appropriate to advise him of that.
so, Judge, I want to address this in chambers, please.
Okay.